Hey, this is Coach Aaron Saft and the Running is Life podcast. Today's episode, I'm going to go over the Hellbender 100 recap. Not a lot, unfortunately, to talk about here, but we're going to talk about a few things, what I learned from it. Also, going to read my letter to Badwater and see what you think. I'd love to hear your feedback. I'm going to talk about what prompted this and background with Badwater. So, not to say that I'm going to run, even if I got in, but we'll see. So, going to talk about that in a bit. And just, other few things that are going on. So, Hellbender, man, backstory. If you don't know, I got together with a number of other people. I had an idea that I wanted to put on a 100-miler in Western North Carolina, and got together, formed the North Carolina Mountain Trail Runners. So Ellen Siegel and I, we started the Run 828 Foundation, and then from that I branched out and formed the North Carolina Mountain Trail Runners. And through all of that, I came up with Hellbender with a number of other people that helped me make Hellbender what it is today. Brandon Thrower proposed a course. Victor Mariano kind of fine-tuned it and made Hellbender into the course that we kind of see. And Brandon has continued to make adjustments and make it into the course it is that we ran this year. Abby Harris was a huge help to me in making Hellbender become a reality. Bart Smith, Bart was just amazing in helping me with permits and getting all of the groundwork laid and foundations made, and Victor for helping me clear trails. They were going to decommission Newberry and Snooks, and we decided to take those on and get them reopened so that people could use them and we could use them in Hellbender. It was just so much, foundational work that it's just amazing. The people that came together to get that event going, and countless others. Forgive me. There's just so many people that helped that get going. So, point being, Hellbender means a lot to me. It means, something that the community came together, and that was my vision, to bring the community of Western North Carolina together to put on an event that would showcase Western North Carolina and the people and community of Western North Carolina, and that is Hellbender, and that is what Hellbender is to this day. I was so proud and honored to be there, to be a part of it, to be able to toe the line, to have that opportunity to go after it. I can't express what that meant to me. I held back tears many times in the pre-race meeting, the days leading up to, just because of the joy I felt to be able to be out there. You don't get to have that connection with many things in life, and to have that connection with this event was very special to me. Now, I had no indication that I was going to have the day that I did on last Friday. I felt fine the day before. Everything was good. I didn't have any stress. I was in the clear. Everything felt good. I was ready to roll. It's I know my Strava doesn't show anything, and again, I just took my watch off for a month because it was just getting to me mentally. I still was training, doing everything. Everything was in line. I really didn't have any problems to speak of. There was no injuries. Nothing held me back. I wasn't sick at that time. I woke up on Friday morning, and I didn't think anything of. It was just another day getting ready to go to do this run. So, with all that said, we started at 4:30 a.m. and I started with my friend Nathan. And we got onto Jarrett Creek Road, and I noticed that I was sweating profusely. Now that's weird at that time of morning. I didn't think it was that hot, but I was really sweating hard. And I kept commenting about, man, it's hot, it's humid, geez. And I think that was the beginning of whatever virus that I had that was starting to manifest itself. I knew something was off. Unfortunately, I was just, I told Nathan later, I said, I don't want to say anything, but I kind of knew something was off from the start. I just wasn't feeling right. And to be sweating as much as I was, it was, like I said, something was wrong. So we made our way through Jarrett. We got up Heartbreak, and, I really didn't think much. I didn't have any problems with that climb. I was good. We got over to Bald Knob and down the South Toe. I was okay. I was climbing strong up South Toe over to Newberry. We ran down Newberry. I was okay. We had a good pack. Val Matena caught up with us. Val had run with me most of the day at Heartbreak, and we came down with another gentleman from Franklin and popped out on Curtis Creek Road, and I watched the mile split pop up. I'll never forget that. 8:42 was our mile split when we popped out on Jarrett Creek Road, and I looked at Nathan and Val, and I said, "Hey, not for nothing, but we just split in 8:42. I'm gonna walk. I don't need to be running 8:42s this early into Hellbender." So we all stopped and walked, and everything was okay. We got into Curtis Creek. And I grabbed a fruit pie and some stuff from my drop bag, grabbed my hat, threw that on, and we were, I replenished all my fluids and had a little bit of soda, and then started going up Snooks. And, I noticed something, again, it was just off going up Snooks. And my friend Zach Dean, who's one of my athletes, caught up, and I was having a hard time breathing. I just was really laboring my breathing. It was just so weird. My heart rate started spiking. I started getting dizzy. I had to take breaks and just stop and sit. I'd stand up and get dizzy again, tried walking, and I just kept getting these really bad dizzy spells. And then all of a sudden I was getting temperature fluctuations where I was getting, really chilled. And Snooks Nose was not a good place for me. It took me forever to complete that climb. And I thank Nathan and Zach for staying with me. I was not in any type of shape to be on Snooks. I needed to get off Snooks, and I couldn't wait to get to the top. One of my other athletes was up on Snooks. He was the water-only aid station, him and his wife. So Jim Young, he was amazing up there. Like I said, it took us forever to get up there. Oh my gosh. And I got into the aid station, and again, temperature just swinging rapidly. I'd go from sweating profusely to all of a sudden getting chills. And I think that's when my fever started, was on Snooks. It was the obvious symptoms. We thought maybe something was going on with my blood pressure. And they thought maybe it was hydration. So Jim kept pumping fluids into me. It was, I'd let Zach and Nathan head on. Told him, please, just go on. I hope to get down to Neil's. That's where my crew was. My best friend Dave and his wife, my physical therapist Miriam, they were down there. So I was just hoping to get down there. But I stayed up at the Green Knob Overlook with Jim for a while. He had some liquid IV powder. I drank about 5 flasks, so 500 milliliter flasks of. I think I had 3 or 4 liquid IV pouches and one of Noon. And, I went and peed just to make sure I wasn't dehydrated. My friend Clay, who's a nurse, he was over there, just made sure I was okay. I was peeing in the color that was not representative of being dehydrated. We couldn't figure it out. Nobody had a thermometer on them, so we couldn't really take my temperature, but even Brian, who was on course, a physician, said, he thought maybe I was battling something like a virus, which is obviously now, in retrospect, what it was. But I laid there for a little bit. I started getting chills again, so I threw on my wool base layer and my raincoat. This is 70-something degrees weather and sunny, and I'm having chills. So things were just not right. But we got everything back to normal, like where I was, I looked like my color had returned to me. I wasn't shivering. I was, definitely more clear. I was smiling again. Had a little bit of food, and Clay said, "Hey, I'll walk you up Green Knob just to make sure you're okay." So walked up Green Knob, felt fine. I got to the top, and I was definitely warming up. So I took off my rain jacket and my wool base layer and put back on my shirt and my short sleeve shirt. And I said, "Clay, thanks, man. I'll make my way down to Neil's." So I made my way down to Neil's. I didn't have any dizzy spells, no other chills, nothing. I didn't have any of the signs of anything of what had just transpired on Snooks going down to Neil's. So I got it down into Neil's. I saw everybody there. It lifted my spirits just seeing Craig Marshall, who's he's usually the lead coordinator, the head of the aid station down there, and everybody else that was there. It was just wonderful to see people and friends and athletes I coach and people I know, my crew, of course. But Miriam shared the news that my friend Nathan had fallen and had separated his shoulder and was in bad shape. He wanted to continue on. They gave him a shot of lidocaine to see if it could, help the shoulder, but he was in bad shape. So I was worried about my friend, of course. Again, I had no indication that anything was to the contrary, that I couldn't continue on. I still had plenty of time to continue. Now, of course, in my mind, I should say this with the caveat, Saturday morning, I had to get to the state qualifying meet, the regional championships, which was actually not far away from the race finish, but that was on the back of my mind. I had promised my kids I would be there for them, and that was important to me. And so what I said to my crew, I had a quesadilla, ate some food, had some soda, and what I said to them was, "Hey, if any of this manifests itself again going up Mitchell, I just have to call it. I can't put myself through this and put myself in detriment or potentially risk having to have rescue come get me because I was in a precarious place and couldn't get myself out of there." I recognized that, I did not want to put myself in that situation or risk putting anybody else in the place where they were to have to come rescue me. So, with that said, I started making my way up Mitchell. At the base of the climb, I felt fine. But the weather, as it does, quickly turned, and we got a really torrential rain, and thunder and lightning storm. It was crashing overhead. I had my rain jacket on, but again, the chills came back on. I just couldn't control my body temperature. And even with eating, it quickly zapped me again. And I was left just kind of really just dragging one foot after the other. My energy was just totally depleted because I was fighting this virus and trying to maintain, a body temperature. And I didn't have enough in me to do so. So I summited Mitchell, was coming back down and just knew I was depleted. I was already resigned to getting in the car because I was just so cold and drained of all life. So I got back and, looked at my crew and I said, unfortunately, that's it for me today. I don't have any more to go forward. I'm going to drop here. That was the decision. I knew it was for the best. I didn't, to be honest, I didn't have enough energy to be upset with having to drop at Mitchell. It really did not, as strange as that sounds, there was no negativity about what I had to do there. I said, I need to get in the car and I need to get warm. I had some ramen to warm back up. My friend Dave made some coffee and, I just sat in the truck with the heat on and kind of got my body temperature back up. My head was just kind of lulled to the side. My friend Nathan got in and, we talked about how he was doing with his shoulder. And I said, hey buddy, unfortunately, we're not professional runners. On Monday, you have to go back to work. And, Nathan builds houses. And I said, if you fall again, you may not be able to go back to work for a while. I said, I don't know. Doesn't sound like an option that's viable. In my opinion, I think, you should call it a day as well, unfortunately, which, he eventually agreed and said, yeah, I think you're right. So the two of us had to drop, on top of Mount Mitchell, approximately 40 miles into the race. And nothing can take away from that day. That course is so beautiful. The people are wonderful. I had a wonderful experience aside from the obvious illness, whatever virus was taking me. I did do a COVID test when I got home. I was COVID negative. So thankfully, as I record this, I'm feeling, almost 100%. I could say I'm almost back to 100%. Sipping on tea here, as we speak. But, I can't say that I was upset by that. I knew it was out of my control, and there wasn't much I could do on that given day, to keep moving forward. I just didn't have it in my body because of whatever was going through it. So, with that said, I wrote a little Facebook post, and I kind of want to read that to you guys, if you'll bear with me. So I said, I've learned something over the 3 decades I've been running. When we line up to race, no matter how much we've trained and prepared, the race and life in general owes us nothing. The reality is we owe running and life a tremendous amount for what it does for and to us. Running and many coaches, friends, family members, and mentors have transformed me to find my current mindset. A DNF does not diminish or define who I am or what I can accomplish. It makes me take a deeper dive into A, what happened, B, what can I do better, and C, how can I train smarter, not necessarily harder. It also makes me reflect upon life, the choices I make, my priorities, and what I'm doing to make this world a little better. Running is life is a mantra. I live it, I breathe it, and I grasp to understand and apply it on a daily basis. Keep moving forward, my friends. So, that's where I'm at. I'm at the point of assessment. When I ask myself those 3 questions, again, what happened? I got sick. That's as simple as that. What can I do better? Well, it's hard to do anything better when you're sick. I did what I had to do. I had to pull out, right? So, in this case, there wasn't much I could do better. I tried to take care of myself the week prior. I tried to get extra sleep. I tried to eat right. I tried to stay hydrated. I did everything in my power to try to stay healthy. Now, I work with high school age kids, and unfortunately, we're seeing a lot of cases of pertussis. So there's a lot of illness. Now, thankfully, I didn't have pertussis, which is whooping cough. But, again, there's a lot of illnesses that come with coaching these kids. Now, I'm not going to give that up. So that's not going to change. I'm always going to be exposed to these kind of things. So it's always a risk that I'm willing to take because I enjoy working with these kids. So with that said, Saturday came, we had the regional championships. My son qualified in the 4x8, the open 8, and the 4x4. And our team won the regional championships. Our boys won the regional championships. Couldn't be more proud of those kiddos. I had a heartbreak with my girls 4x8. They were disqualified. There was a rules infraction. There was nothing that I could protest. Unfortunately, they qualified for state, but they were disqualified because of the infraction, which broke my heart. I can't tell you how upset that made me. I don't know if these kids, they've seen me cry before, but I don't know if they've ever seen me cry because of something that they did. And I wasn't crying because of what they did. I was crying because of what happened to them and the opportunity that was stripped from them. That really put a real dent in me. These kids mean the world to me. Their success and their failure are my successes and my failures. And, having that happen, I discussed with them what the infraction was so that they learn from it and that they could move forward without doing it again so it doesn't happen in the future. I didn't want to place any blame. I still don't want to place any blame. So they asked, and I said, it's not something that's anyone's fault. It happened, and I'm trying to make it evident as to what happened and what we can do moving forward so it doesn't happen again. So, again, going through those things, what happened, I talked to them about what happened. What can we do better? I talked to them about what we can do better. And then how can we train smarter? That's what we do on a daily basis, and that's what we talk about, right? So my piece, how can I train smarter? Well, my next objective, which I've moved on to, right? I have to. There's nothing I can do about Hellbender at this point. My next objective is High Lonesome, July 19th. So with that said, I've gotten back to training. I've gotten back to strength training. I reached back out to the strength trainer, Will Frantz, and said, hey, man, really want to get back on this. I've got a little bit more time on my schedule, and I'm really going to put an emphasis on training. I've reinstated some of the treadmill hiking. I know that it's tough on weekdays for me to get out to the trailhead. It's just I don't have a lot of time to get myself out there. So I've reinstated some treadmill hiking. So I'm getting in some incline hiking. And it's, I've started wearing my watch again and my heart rate strap to make sure that I'm doing what I need to do to be smart about my training. Making sure that I'm sleeping and eating right and hydrating. I'm making sure that I continue those trends that I should be doing all the time. Right? Not just the week before Hellbender, but all the time, right? Sleeping well, eating well, drinking well, doing all these ancillary things. It's a check-in time. And that's what I did, is how can I train smarter? And so now I'm implementing all that. I've kind of put everything in my Training Peaks account so that I can get in there and I can see what I'm doing. I have a little bit more accountability by putting in some active warm-ups, by making sure that I put in my ankle strengthening and mobility, all that kind of stuff. I need to make sure that I'm doing it. And so, seeing something that pops up red and tells me I didn't do it, that drives me nuts. I know that. So that gives me motivation to do better, to get things done, because I like seeing the green. I like making sure that I'm getting things done. I also like to make sure that I'm doing it right. Now, I don't want to get hung up again on the metrics, but I want to make sure that I do everything I can to give myself the best success at finishing High Lonesome that I can. So that's what I'm doing. That's how I'm training smarter. That's the third piece. So moving forward, all of that, it's great. I looked at Monday, I did an hour in zone 2, and today I did an hour in zone 2, and I looked at the two and compared. On Monday, my average heart rate was 115. Today, my average heart rate was 117, so 2 beats higher, but I also ran 0.7 miles further, right? So not quite a mile further, but in an hour span with 2 beats higher, I ran significantly a lot more. Now that's saying that my body has recovered from the effort that I did. So I know the fitness is there. My average pace was 8:58, I believe, today, right? So sub 9-minute pace at zone 2. So I know the fitness is there. I know it's all there. I just have to take care of myself, keep moving forward, keep training smart, and things will come. I just have to be patient. So that's, all things that are leading in the positive direction. So that's my wrap on Hellbender. As much as I wanted that finish, it wasn't in the cards this year, unfortunately. So on to the next piece. I've been reading Eat Clean, Run Dirty. If you haven't read Eat Clean, Run Dirty, it's a great publication. It's got some wonderful articles, some wonderful writers that are a part of it. I've had Jess on the podcast in the past. She does a wonderful job of putting this magazine together and putting some great thought into the articles that go into this magazine. And she wrote a wonderful article in this issue about her love for the Orcas Islands 100 miler. It was fantastic. Reading it spoke to me. It really did. It made me want to put that one on my bucket list. to go out there and run that one, just because of her description of it, the adventure of it, the camaraderie that comes and is around that event. It sounds like something that I want to be a part of. Those are articles that I really enjoy. Now, the other article that was in there was about the Badwater 135. Now, that's a race that I have sworn off for years. I have sworn off for that event. But reading this article again spoke to me. Something drew my adventurous spirit towards this. I was magnetically drawn to actually thinking about applying for Badwater 135. In 2008, my friend Dave Horner ran it for his, I believe, third time. He placed 10th place overall. I got to crew and pace him through that adventure, and knew at the time that it was kind of beyond my skill set. At the time, in 2008, I hadn't run my first 50K yet. Running with Dave and pacing him, that was really my second time, I guess, being around an ultra, a true ultra. I think in 2003, I believe, I was at Umstead 100, and I paced there as a volunteer. That was my first time around being around an ultra. And then crewing for Dave and pacing for Dave really gave me perspective into the sport. Again, it wasn't something that I was sure was really in my wheelhouse, or I wanted to be in my wheelhouse. Still not sure. It's something that, that really I want to do. I want to think and reflect on it. I'm not sure my wife would be on board for this one. So that's another piece of it, another conversation that I want to have with her. But for those that don't know, you have to write an essay basically about why you should be chosen as a participant in the Badwater 135. So people have some great stories, and that's what this article conveyed, was that there are so many wonderful stories about people that have done some amazing things. They're amazing people, veterans, people with disabilities, just all sorts of stories that come in, about these participants from Badwater 100. Now, my letter reflects the fact that I don't have much of a story. I never had much of a story. I have experience. I have a lot of experience. So I had to figure out, how do I make myself different from the other applicants? And that's kind of why I wanted to write this, was to, what if I put in for this application? It's a big what if. It really is. I mean, that's a big commitment. It is a financially big commitment to run Badwater. There's a lot of expenses that are incurred by that, by renting vans, by getting out there, but the race itself, the cost of the race itself, the cost for the crew, the cost for supplies. There's just so many costs that go into running Badwater 135. So, I'm not sure it's going to be a reality, but I just really, I don't know, something spoke to me that I wanted to write this letter, this essay, for applying. So, I should say here too, while running Hellbender, I had so many people just say, "Oh, you're Aaron. You're running this life podcast," and that's awesome. I want to really just say how much that meant to me, to hear you say you listen to the podcast, you like the podcast, that it helps you and it gives you something. That's amazing. That really means a lot to me. So thank you. And thank you for taking the moment to say that to me. That's awesome. And you people are just amazing. And I thank you for that. And I think writing this letter, I want to hear from you to say, I don't think that's enough. Or maybe you can change this or add something here. But anyway, I'm going to read you my letter. My essay, if you will, for if I were to apply to Badwater. So here we go. It's hard to create a story that's still in progress. It's also tough to tell a story that's pretty darn common. Sure, I've done and experienced some amazing things in my life, but to be honest, so have many others. So I had to ask myself, what separates me from everyone else? Let me go back to 2016. and humor me for a moment with a flashback. In said year, I was running Dr. David Horton's now defunct Beast Series. I had completed 3 50Ks by April, and the remainder of my calendar for that year was as follows. June, Cayuga 50 miler and the Manitou's Revenge 50 miler. July, Canadian Death Race 125K. October, Grindstone 100 miler. November, Mountain Masochist 50 miler. December, Hellgate 100K. A daunting and challenging schedule with the hope of winning both the Lynchburg Ultra Series and the B Series, which I won both. But that's only part of the 2016 story. In the midst of all this, I was in the Runner's World magazine cover contest, a finalist no less. A panel of judges had selected 5 male and 5 female contestants for the honor of being the winner of the contest and having their picture on the front of the magazine. I know for some, print media is dead, but I grew up with this magazine and eagerly read every article. To be a finalist for this was a dream come true. So how did I get to that point? Everything about my running stems from love. With and through running, I can do so much more than just go for a run. I can take an individual sport and at times selfish activity and make it about others. I created races that raised money for nonprofit organizations, and I donated and sponsored races that did the same. I became a coach and a mentor to younger and older runners. The point being is I tried to share my love for running and life with others so that they might do the same, to give them the idea that life is about others and the change we can make, an impact we can have when we put others first and use our talents and abilities to make a difference. As the internet will show, I didn't win, but I experienced something that changed my life and way of thinking. I met some truly amazing friends that have much more amazing stories than my own, and that's what makes running so amazing. Each race we run has a limited number of runners. Those runners all have stories of how they got to the starting line. Badwater has shown this each year it's run. Since the Runner's World contest, my professional life has gone from running store owner and race director to a running coach and podcaster. It took me a number of years to find a name for my brand that felt suitable for who I am, what I do, and what I represent. It wasn't until I watched Ted Lasso and saw the joy the character Danny Rojas exhibited for life and football that I understood and found a name that resonated with me. Running is life. That simple phrase, name, struck a chord so deep that it's hard to express how much it reflects my love for it and how it affects my thoughts, actions, and deeds. How such a simple few words can say everything. Running is life. My story may not be the most compelling, but instead of remaining an individual, I've become part of a community. I serve that community with my experience. As I try to reach each finish line, I know that I will help countless others do the same by learning from my own experiences. All I need is the opportunities to continue to grow, to learn, and to evolve. I believe Badwater is one of those experiences that will do so. As I mentioned earlier, my story is incomplete. Will one of those blank chapters be filled with the pages about the Badwater 135? Again, it's up to a committee to decide what's added to my story. In races, we don't deserve anything but the experience of what the day gives us. All we ask is for that opportunity to see what that day has in store for us. I know running Badwater is in part for my own sake, but I realize, and I hope I've conveyed, that it will impact many other lives in the process and aftermath as well. I sincerely appreciate your time and consideration. I hope to see you in 2025. Respectfully, Aaron Saft. Crew and pacer for Dave Horner, 10th place, 2008, Badwater 135. Well, there you have it. It's hard to put one's life story, to put their emotions and convey those in an essay. I really tried to take a moment to think about the emotions and the moments in my life that have impacted me and put that into this essay. Now there's so many moments, and so much more that can be said, and I don't want to make it too long I don't want to make it too long-winded. I don't want to make it too emotional, but I think I've conveyed a lot here. But again, I'd love to hear some of your thoughts, some of your opinions, or if you've applied for Badwater and you don't mind sharing your letter, I'd love to read that and get a perspective of how you applied, and and hear your story about your Badwater experience. Dave he was amazing. I got to witness something truly amazing that year. And it truly shaped my life. And maybe that's something I need to include in this letter. But, that said, it's all about the experiences and what we turn those experiences into. I've decided to turn my experience into helping others in the same sport, right? Everything I do, I talk to my athletes about. I try to make sure they don't make the same mistakes that I have. I talk about my flaws, my imperfections. I'm open. I'm honest. I'm that way on this podcast. I try to give you guys the true insight as to what goes on and how to move forward from it. A DNF does not have to be the worst thing that's ever happened. It doesn't have to be a negative experience. As I said, I was neither negative or positive about this DNF. I understood it happened. I processed it. I allowed myself to move forward from it, understanding that there's things that I can do better and that I need to implement those. It was a good check-in. And from time to time on this podcast, you hear me talk about that I need that check-in. I need that reflection in order to move forward and be a better person, a better runner, and to do better. So with all of that, I thank you all for listening, for being a part of this. I look forward to hearing from you. Please reach out. Positives, negatives. I hear it all. Now I may not respond to some of the negatives. That's my personality, though. There are negative comments that are made, and I understand that. You are entitled to your opinion, and I'm also entitled to not respond. And that in myself is making a statement that I think that sometimes some statements do not deserve a response. So if you make a negative comment and I don't say anything, that in itself is what I'm saying. Okay. But if you make a positive, I appreciate that. And I appreciate constructive criticism. I appreciate everything you all have to say. This podcast is about our community. It's about making ourselves better in all aspects, not just in our running, but in life. And that's why I say running is life. Keep moving forward, my friends.